Thea Stilton. MOUSEFORD Academy. The Friendship Recipe. Headmaster in the Kitchen. One sunny afternoon, Octavius de Mussis, the headmaster of MOUSEFORD Academy, was taking a break to watch his favorite cooking show, Healthy Nibbles with Chef Crouton. It was a famous TV competition for amateur chefs, hosted by the one and only Chef Crouton, the most mousetastic cook around. That day, the headmaster learned the secret to baking a perfect soufflé: never open the oven door before the cooking time is over. Otherwise, the rising soufflé will deflate like a balloon. Holy cheese! The recipe of the day was cheddar soufflé, and the one Chef Crouton was baking looked fabulous. The headmaster couldn't help himself that night. After the students were all back in their rooms, he snuck into the academy's kitchen to bake a soufflé of his own. Possum patience is the secret to success, de Mussis hummed to himself, imitating Chef Crouton as he checked his soufflé through the oven door. The soufflé was rising and looking mousetastically delicious. Yum! Just then the headmaster's thoughts were interrupted by a loud sound. Ring-ning. Squeak! The ringing sound must have been the oven timer. It's ready, the headmaster cried. He rushed to open the oven door and the soufflé deflated. Rats! Ring-ning. The headmaster suddenly understood. The ringing wasn't coming from the oven, it was coming from his cell phone. Hello, he answered the call, frazzled. Hello, this is Chef Crouton, a familiar voice squeaked on the other end of the line. Am I speaking to Headmaster de Mussis? I apologize for calling so late. Thundering cattails. The headmaster couldn't believe his ears, he was squeaking with his favorite chef. Chef C. Crouton, the headmaster squeaked. Really? Yes, Chef Crouton went on. I'm calling because I received your letter. A month ago, the headmaster had written a long letter to Chef Crouton, inviting him to teach a class at MOUSEFORD Academy about preparing healthy, tasty food. He knew that the students would love it and they'd learn a lot, too. I would be delighted to teach the MOUSEFORD students everything I know. Chef Crouton said agreeably. Cheese and crackers, what fabulous luck! The chef wasn't going to waste a moment, he planned to arrive the very next day. After hanging up his phone, the headmaster quickly dumped his deflated soufflé in the garbage and headed home as fast as his paws would take him. He had a cheeseload of planning to do. A welcome guest or two. News spreads quickly at MOUSEFORD, and the next morning, Chef Crouton's arrival was all anyone could squeak about. Can you believe it? Nikki cried. A class taught by one of the most famous chefs in the world. I've learned a lot just from watching his TV show, Violet said. For example, you should always choose your ingredients according to what's in season. Colette chimed in, I learned there are ways to make your food not only healthy and delicious, but pink, too, like mixing diced strawberries into your oatmeal. If you paired it with salmon and some beet salad, you'd have your ultimate day of completely pink meals. Paulina joked. The Thea sisters all burst out laughing. Then each one of them started describing their favorite foods. Paulina liked fresh, colorful veggies paired with different tasty dips. Nikki loved high-energy foods like peanut butter and banana sandwiches on whole wheat bread, and Violet enjoyed pairing different dishes with the perfect teas. Pam, what's your favorite meal? Violet asked with a wink. Let me guess. Pizza for every course? When no one squeaked up, the Thea sisters all looked at one another, confused. Where was Pam? Colette thought for a minute. When I left our room, she was on the phone. What Pam's friends didn't know was that Pam had been squeaking with her brother Vince. He was planning to visit MOUSEFORD in a few days. Guess what? Pam exclaimed then, bursting into the room. I have mouserific news, a guest is coming. We already know all about it, Paulina replied, assuming her friend was talking about Chef Crouton. Pam's jaw dropped. How is that possible? I just found out a few minutes ago. Colette shrugged. While you were on the phone, we all read the announcement on the message board. What announcement? There was an announcement about her brother's visit? Pam ran to the message board and burst out laughing. She and her friends were talking about totally different visitors. Sorry, she announced. I guess 2 guests are arriving, Chef Crouton and my brother Vince. The lesson is served. That afternoon, a large crowd gathered in the Great Hall. Everybody was eager to find out exactly what Chef Crouton's class was going to be all about, everybody except Pam. I really don't understand why everyone's got their tails in a twist over a class about healthy eating, she said, sitting down next to her friends. Yuck! What's so gross about eating healthy foods? Nikki asked, raising an eyebrow. Pam rolled her eyes. We're talking about food with no taste, boring, she squeaked, pulling a buttered everything bagel from her backpack. How can you be so sure that healthy food doesn't taste good, too? Nikki asked her. I'll bet your bagel isn't any yummier than my granola and yogurt. Just then Chef Crouton himself interrupted their conversation. He entered the great hall pushing a cart that carried 2 mysterious plates of food. Hello, everybody, he said with a smile. I'm Chef Crouton, and I'm here to teach you how to prepare fun and delicious food that's also nutritious. I always say it should be yummy and good for your tummy. Now, I need a volunteer. Lots of paws went up, but a small group of mouselets caught Chef Crouton's attention: Colette, Violet, Nikki, and Paulina, who were secretly pointing to Pam as a volunteer. Intrigued, Chef Crouton called Pam up and showed her what was on the 2 mystery plates. I prepared some French fries and a baked sweet potato, he explained. Could you try them both and tell me which one is tastier? The French fries will win, Pam said with a shrug, but if you really want me to taste both dishes. As soon as she took a bite of the first French fry, Pam was sure she was right. It was fabulous. But when she tried the baked sweet potato, she was almost squeakless. It was delicious, marvelous, in fact. This baked sweet potato is unbeatable, she cried. While Pam kept munching on the potato, Chef Crouton turned to the other students and smiled. Well, it looks like your friend changed her mind, thanks to my delicious sweet potato baked with herbs and spices. Pam grinned, helping herself to another forkful. She had to admit, maybe Nikki was right, healthy food could be tasty, too. A very special class. Chef Crouton loved teaching things the way he had learned them himself. Paws on. As a young mouselet, he had traveled to every corner of the world to learn about different kinds of food. In Italy, he had learned how to make fresh pasta, in Norway, how to smoke sardines, in India, how to use spices. He hadn't ever gone to a traditional cooking school. Because of his experiences, he decided to take his students on food-related adventures of their own. In order to teach the students the importance of shopping locally for their food, Chef Crouton led the class on a trip to a honey farm on Whale Island. The honey was harvested right there by a beekeeper and his family, so it was fresh and delicious. To teach his students how to plan nutritious meals, he took them straight to MOUSEFORD's enormous pantry. There, he demonstrated how to create a meal with the right balance of fruits, vegetables, proteins, and carbohydrates. Finally, Chef Crouton took the class to the local farmer's market. He wanted his students to understand the importance of eating local, seasonal produce, which is fresher and often tastier because it doesn't have to travel as far before it's purchased. There, the chef demonstrated how to use all 5 senses when picking out fresh fruits and vegetables. Show me the fruit that's in season. A season for all fruit. Spring, kiwis, apricots, lemons, limes, cherries, peas, radishes, green beans. Summer, watermelons, melons, peaches, raspberries, blueberries, strawberries, blackberries, cucumbers, eggplant, onions, peppers. Fall, pears, grapes, chestnuts, pomegranates, oranges, fennel, sweet potatoes, mushrooms, cabbages, beets, squashes, turnips. Winter, clementines, grapefruit, artichokes, cauliflower, broccoli, cabbages, leeks, pears. The Thea sisters' eating habits were getting better and better each day, thanks to the chef's suggestions and tips. Violet found out that using local honey instead of processed sugar made her tea taste even more delicious. Nikki learned that eating a banana before a run gave her more energy and improved her workouts. Colette discovered that choosing better ingredients even helped her beauty routine. Who knew that olive oil made such a fabulous lip balm? Paulina started adding nuts to her salads to make her meals more nutritious and filling. But the Thea sister who was getting the most out of the class was Pam. She wasn't giving up her favorite foods, but she was learning to keep an open mind and taste different things even if they weren't foods she would normally try. On the other paw, there was one mouse who thought that Chef Crouton's class was boring and useless, Ruby Flashyfur. Ruby complained during the long walk to the market. "I can't take Chef Crouton and his babbling about nutrition anymore. I can't wait for this class to be over." But Ruby didn't know that Chef Crouton still had a cheeseload of surprises in store for the MOUSEFORD students. Chef Crouton's 10 rules for healthy eating. 1. Always eat fruits and vegetables. 2. Drink lots of water throughout the day. 3. Avoid sugary drinks and limit sugary foods. 4. Don't eat too many fatty or fried foods. 5. Choose in season, local produce. 6. Don't eat too much. 7. Start your day with a healthy, balanced breakfast, it will give you energy. 8. Chew slowly, you'll be able to enjoy the taste of your food more. 9. Get plenty of exercise. 10. Keep trying foods you think you don't like. You might change your mind. Remember, it should be yummy and good for your tummy. Guests and unexpected news. The days went by faster than a mouse on a cheese hunt, and soon it was time for Chef Crouton to leave MOUSEFORD Academy. While he was packing, he couldn't stop thinking about his students' enthusiasm. They had learned so much in just a few weeks. As he closed his last bag, he had a mouse-tastic idea. Without a moment to waste, he scurried to the headmaster's office. As soon as he walked in, he squeaked, "I'm positive that your students' enthusiasm for healthy eating would be inspiring to mouselets everywhere. I'd like them to be on my TV show." The headmaster scratched his snout, perplexed. "Well, I'm sure they would be thrilled, but I'm afraid they'd miss too many classes." "Don't worry about that," Chef Crouton interrupted. "The students won't come to the TV show will come to MOUSEFORD." Chef Crouton quickly explained his plan. He would hold a pause-on cooking class for a small group of students so only the ones truly interested in cooking would sign up. Those students would be featured in a special episode of Healthy Nibbles with Chef Crouton. The headmaster loved the idea of his favorite TV show being filmed at MOUSEFORD. Holy cheese, how could he say no? Smiling, Chef Crouton headed for the door. "You can make the announcement, and I'll go unpack." At that very moment, a mouselet with curly brown hair stepped off the ferry at Whale Island's port. He carried a big backpack on his shoulders, and he looked around curiously. "Vince!" Pam shouted, running to hug her brother. "I'm so excited to see you." "It's mouse-tastic to see you, too," Vince replied, wrapping Pam in a big hug. He had really missed his little sister. Even though They had an enormous family. Their happy home in New York wasn't the same without Pam. I can't wait to show you around MOUSEFORD. Pam squeaked, climbing into her car. I have so much to tell you, so many places to show you, and so many mouselets for you to meet. Pam wasn't joking. In fact, as soon as they arrived at the academy, she took Vince on a whirlwind tour of the place that she lovingly called her new home. Vince had a great time catching up with the Thea sisters, whom he had met once in New York. He also had a chance to meet some of his sister's other friends. Vince could see that Pam had not only found a new home at MOUSEFORD, but a new family, too. Once he'd met all of Pam's friends, Vince thought it would be a good time to paw over the gift he had brought Pam from New York. So, Pam, I have a little dash. But he hadn't finished his sentence when he was interrupted by an excited squeak. Hey, I have Marv Mouse news. Ron cried, running over to the Thea sisters. Chef Crouton has decided to stay at MOUSEFORD and teach an actual cooking class. You mean a pause-on class where we'll learn to cook his dishes? Nikki squeaked. Exactly, Ron said. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. But we have to enroll fast. The class is limited to a small number of students. Holy cheese, that's fabumouse! Pam exclaimed. Let's go sign up. As everyone scurried away, Pam turned back to Vince.